Live on ultiworld.com, we have Jordan Marin, Carla DiFilippo, and Hannah Dawson of the Toronto 6ixers. Why don't you just talk to me about where you guys are at? I mean, you seem pretty happy. You just made your first ever national championship game. Didn't go how you wanted to, but where are the emotions at right now?
I think that we have to laugh and be happy. If not, we'd be crying type of situation. It's not the game that we wanted to have. We came out that first half. I think we played a good game, and we were making great plays, and we were challenging them. And, I believed in that half. This whole tournament, we've come off the half even hotter. So I was feeling really confident. So I'm still really confused, as to
what happened.
I'll watch the game tape multiple times and try to learn from it. But right now, I have to laugh or else I think I'd cry type of thing.
I mean, like Carla said, I think we're pretty embarrassed by the fight we put up in the second half.
Yeah.
But we need to remind ourselves that it's our first time ever being in the finals. And I was saying to Brute Squad, maybe what happened to them losing and then winning will happen to us. So that's what we're personally hoping for, is that next year we'll push back and we'll score 8 more points than we did today. You want to add to that, Hannah?
Oh my gosh. No.
So it did start well in the first half. You got the first break. Really looked like the better team. I mean, their offense is having a lot of trouble. You weren't able to sustain that, obviously, but what were you doing successfully in that first half to cause their offense so many problems?
I think, to be honest, we were playing well, and they were a little rattled for some reason. I don't know why. And I think they just came out the half wanting it more. They're perhaps the more experienced team in these types of situations. And they knew that the game wasn't over. They had a tight game against Fury in the semis, which prepped them. That kind of helps coming into a final. They played in the stadium. All those, they've been in a national final. So I think a little bit of experience, sure, Brute showed in that second half. And for us, we're, this is not excuses, but we were down 2 key players coming into this. Adriana hurt her,
she tore her ACL.
She tore her ACL, and she was a great receiver for us. Lauren Kamura, who's the rock of our O-line, for handling, couldn't play this game. So, we relied a lot on our bench, and I think it was just it was just too short, our bench, for a team like Brute. They're just too good.
Yeah, I think Brute was able to get the D back when they turned it on O, and our offensive line didn't have the good enough defense to kind of convert after we turned it.
I did want to ask about Lauren being out. When did you learn that she'd be out? And then where do you go mentally, and what becomes the game plan to try to make up for her absence?
So the most ridiculous thing in the world is that Lauren hurt herself by trying to catch a pull. She actually successfully caught the pull, but her knee bent in a way that led to a partial MCL tear. So she was told that she might be able to play today. But today, during the warm-up, when she was moving around, she knew that she wouldn't be able to contribute successfully on the field in the way that she wanted to, at least not compared to the other handlers that we had, so she stepped out at the warm-up. And I can say that as a cutter on the O-line, the biggest thing that I noticed is not the lack of talent, but the lack of calmness on the field that Lauren brings. She's really our general out there, and she commands the back of the field, which makes everybody else's job easier. And players like Hannah stepped up really, really big in this game, but just missing that person that we all know that we can kind of gravitate around and depend on. It was really hard for us, especially once we got broken. The confidence wasn't there that we could then get it back, and so we really, really missed her. And I know that she made the right decision for her future as an ultimate player and for our team. But I'm excited for her to come back. You guys want to add anything?
Hi, Frank Nam from USA Ultimate. So one of the things that I thought about with your appearance here and not being at the finals before, but having won 2 Canadian nationals, being at Worlds, so the stage, how is that stage different than this stage, or are they different? Because I felt that experience would allow you to not feel the pressure of being on a big stage.
I think it's different. For us, the USA Ultimate Nationals is the top of our sport. It's just in other sports, right? US Open, things like that are more competitive than the Olympics, and so the top 16 teams here are much stronger than the top 16 teams at Worlds, so it's easier when I don't want to say it's easier when you go to Worlds, but you're always playing kind of some countries that aren't, and so it's an easier route kind of to the quarter semis. Here you're grinding, the 16 seed is, you don't know, they're all good, and so it does take a lot more out of you. And like this tournament is so competitive. It really is, like, we really hold it high. So I think it is different for sure in that sense. Yeah. And there's cash prize, so that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, we won
You know,
$1,000.
The money.
1,000 American is like 5,000 Canadian, so that's great for us. It's great.
Players like Hannah can speak to this as well, because this is Hannah's first year really playing on a USAU.
Yeah, I've never been to USAU Nationals before, but this team is just super fun and lighthearted, so I felt like it was just another day of Ultimate, to be honest, because I never thought we'd be here.
And here we are.
And here we are. Look at us.
Yeah, look at us.
Look at us.
Hannah, by just bringing that up, I have to ask the question, what is it about this team that helped them get this far that you've noticed? Obviously, the others here have been with the team for a little bit longer, and so you're coming in fresh. What is it that you noticed that has made this team special?
We're all a very positive team that lifts each other up a lot. If you make a mistake on the field or anywhere, it's just people are there to support you, and it's really fun also. We don't take it too seriously, I don't think.
We take it seriously when we have to, Hannah.
Yes.
As a
There's a lot of
coach.
athletes.
We're going to be doing end zone sprints tonight for all of our members.
But yeah, we try to keep it lighthearted. But the team has worked really hard to be here, and but yeah, we have to remember to enjoy the moment, right? It's Ultimate and it's sports, and
Yeah.
it's fun. Right? In the end, it has to be fun.
I've played a lot of Ultimate, and the biggest thing for me about this team is just the fact that we all, it always feels like we could still be in the game. So even, I would say up until 13-6 or 13-7, whatever it was, I was like, you know what? This is a big deficit, but this team could actually overcome this. We didn't in the end. So maybe a little bit of hubris there, but there's always that belief on this team, because we have a D-line that goes out and gets crazy Ds, and then are able to convert on a strangely high ratio. So we didn't do it today, but overall that's something that this team has always had, this crazy confidence and this crazy ability to just keep punching it through, and that's the biggest difference for me between this team and any other team I've ever played on.
Jordan, the last time we spoke earlier this season, you talked about the difficulty of double peaking. You guys wanted, to win Canadian national championships, and then you had to come back and try for USAU 2. What was that like with your season, portioning it out to try and make sure that you guys hit it both, and quite successfully so? I mean, you've made the final in both tournaments.
I think we peaked 48 hours too early, but we did do it. It's a really long and grueling season. I'm not going to lie, at the beginning of this tournament, before we stepped on the field the first time, we were really feeling it, and we didn't have the same level of excitement, I would say, that we normally do for tournaments. But the second we stepped on the field on the first day, it came back and we had it. And I think that is just a lot thanks to our coaches, the way that they've planned this season and the way that they support us, and the way that they know us all as players individually and what we need in order to keep pushing. And again, I think it also just speaks to the team as a whole. We actually like being together a lot, and we have a lot of fun together. So when we're at practice, it's not always
a grind.
Yeah. It's like a social thing as well. So as long as we're able to maintain kind of that dynamic on the team, I think we will be able to continue to double peak. But like I said, next year we'll try to peak 2 days later.
If the 6ixers even exist next year. No, I'm just kidding.
What?
What?
Yeah, we're
Breaking news.
There's a 4-year plan, remember?
I don't know what she's talking about.
Are you going to play next year? Who's got a serviette to sign your next year contract?
I'm signed.
You signed?
Yeah.
Carla's losing it.
So,
Honest.
for the past few years in the club women's division, we've seen many of the same teams in semifinals, many of the same teams in finals, and that was different this season. From your perspective, do you think that that kind of era of having the same teams in the same spots every year is coming to a close?
I don't know, because Fury and Riot, they're so strong. It's just sports. It's any given Sunday. You don't know who's going to win. It's why people love sports. You don't know who's going to pull it off. But it'd be so easy for Fury to be in this final. You know what I mean? I hope it's over for the growth of women's ultimate. It should be different teams. I truly believe that if we had our full roster here, it'd be a different score. The people we're missing are big, and so, I think if we had our vets come back one more year, and we're healthy, well, I think we could be here again for sure. I hope it's over. I hope it's different. It's just more fun that way.
You know what? We all have to stop just feeding into the narrative that there's 4 women's teams and that the others are just playing for 5th. It's not the case. This year, Scandal beat multiple teams that were in the top 4. We beat Riot and Brute Squad. We beat Brute Squad twice. Phoenix almost beat Brute Squad. Schwa beat Molly Brown. So let's let go of the narrative, because half of the reason that these top 4 teams keep being the top 4 is because we all play as if they're the top 4 and they can't be touched. I don't think that's the case. I think next year, us, Schwa, Phoenix, Scandal, we're going to come for it and try to be top 4. So I don't know about you guys. I'd like the narrative to change. And I think that the depth of the field is there. We just all have to play as if we could be top 4.
I think there are 9 players on the team that are over the age of 25. So it is still a really young squad. How does this change the expectations for Sixers moving forward?
Like the youth of it, you mean? Or?
Well, the youth and the success you've had this year.
I don't think it changes. Like I said, if we had those 4 players, I think it would be a different, it'd be different. Like we use everyone on our team, but today it was just too little, just slightly too short, like missing those 4, and like it was windy and we were playing a lot of offense. Like, so we're, I don't think it changes it at all, to be honest. I think we're on the right trajectory, and like I said, if those the vets that aren't here come back healthy, and our young players, they're good, and every year they just get better, right? So like the young, like Britt and Sarah Jacobson and like Alyssa Mason, like all those players, like they're just going to come back better next year, right? So I think it's like we have a bright future. Toronto is, we'll shout out Toronto. Like Toronto's an awesome ultimate community, and there's tons of wicked junior program there. I'm laughing because I run it with my partner. But we have a great junior system. Like our Toronto women won junior nationals this year in Canada, and like so we have like a great feeder system. Jordo coached like the U of T. Like we have it's a great. It's doing well. There's going to be we have young talent coming up always.
I'll also say Hannah lives in Ottawa. She's actually moving to Toronto to play with the Sixers, and I think we might be a community now where people come to Toronto.
Toronto's a pretty fun city.
Yeah.
Toronto's
it's
fun.
pretty exciting when all the young players are so athletic. It motivates us to keep playing better and better, because they're going to take all of our spots.
Yeah, we have to fend them off, honestly. They're always there, right there. And you're like, oh my God, I got to do an extra workout so that I can still play. So it's good.
As an offensive coach, I had a question about your offenses.
Yeah.
So I noticed something akin, if not a German offense.
Pardon?
A German offense where you had 3 cutters just deep,
Yeah.
and then the ISO, and then your handlers back.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Like
and
on
how
a
long
set
have
play?
you been running
You're talking
it?
about
Yeah,
levels.
that's set play.
Oh, so we took that from Iris. I'll get back to you.
Nice.
So Fish and I coached Team Canada U24s, and that was one of the plays that she used there. And we wanted to use it because sometimes we get stifled when teams like Fury do a force middle on us, and it works well on a vert stack. And so that one play we thought worked nicely because it's just like one person isolated. So thanks Fish and Iris for that. Yeah. So we stole it.
Yeah. She's a fraud.
All right, Jordan Marin, Carla DiFilippo, and Hannah Dawson of Toronto Sixers. Thanks so much, y'all.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Ultra World.
Thank you.
And USAU and everybody else.
Yep. Thanks.
Thank God. I was like, I need to drink.
Live on OldHeroWorld.com, we have Tulsa Douglas, Ari Jackson, and Cammie Groom of 2019 national champion Boston Brute Squad. So the first thing I want to ask you all, this season more so than any other, since Brute Squad really became a national title contender, had its ups and downs. What did you do this year to better peak and play your best ultimate at nationals?
Is that for me, or do you want
all three of you?
Sure. From a sort of coaching perspective, I think that the losses that we took at regionals especially gave us the opportunity to kind of hold ourselves to a higher standard. Then it's easier to do that when you get knocked down a peg or two. So I think the practices that we've had since regionals have been some of the best practices I've been a part of with this team, in terms of like everybody really pushing each other and committing to really holding themselves and their teammates to a high standard. And we identified a couple areas that we thought we were really faltering in, and made sure to work on those so that we'd be more prepared come nationals.
Tulsa, this is your first championship with Brute Squad, right? But I guess, unfortunately, this is more a question for the two of you. How does this one feel different than the two you had in 15 and 16?
Okay. The two in 15 and 16, they were kind of new. This one feels different in the sense of we've had 2 years of real adversity, to get to Sunday and to lose. Getting to Sunday is so difficult, and it's such a privilege every time. And when you get there and lose, the feeling of defeat and devastation can be so large, and it can weigh on you. So to have that happen for 2 years in a row, and then now to be here again and to actually complete it, feels good in a lot of ways, and definitely feels different than the past two that we won. Feels just like satisfying in a way that, because we overcame that adversity, it's just a little bit sweeter.
Tulsa, maybe you can help answer this one. This is Brute's first championship in 2 years, but you are 2 points away. Your team has been 2 points away from 5 years of sustained national championships. What is it about this team that has kept the longevity going, that has made it a dynasty program, that is something that people continue to come join the team and continue to see the success grow for it?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it's we create like a really special environment where everyone pushes each other to work harder and like grow as an individual and grow as a team, and also like support each other when things get hard and when we don't have the outcomes that we want. It's like we use all of that to build and continue to grow together. So I think it's just like a kind of like always wanting more and always pushing for more together.
Question maybe more for Ari and Cammie. There are a few of you that have been around for a long time that have seen, that have had those national championship titles, but others that have not, and you still relied on them a lot. There were plenty of players on this team that just won today that have not had a national title before. What is it that the trust that you have to rely on players that haven't been there before in close games and in tight ones or in the national final itself? What is it about those younger players that makes them ready for it?
I mean, you go through a whole season together with your full team, and you just know that all of your teammates have your back all the time. So I feel like we've seen our teammates grind in practice. We've seen them grind under pressure. We've seen the level that they bring every day of the season. And so this is no different. Like, this is the environment we try to create at practice, the high pressure. So we've seen them perform before, and there's just no doubt when we step on the line that we're like a full team of 26, and we're going to get the job done.
So a question about the game itself. I mean, really a battle for those first 12 points, 6-6. The offense seemed to be struggling a little bit there. All of a sudden, you scored 8 goals in a row. What were they doing to cause those offensive issues, and then what changed to put the game away?
So I think you have to give a ton of credit to the Sixers. I mean, they played defense against us that we don't see from many teams. There's a select handful that play that level of defense, and we try to create that pressure for ourselves at practice. But I mean, I think they did to us what we try to do to other teams when we're really close, really tight. the throw has to be that much more perfect, and when as a thrower you know that your throw has to be that much more perfect, it's even harder to make a good throw. So I think they were doing some of that to us and we were kind of falling into that and taking harder throws because we were unsure and slowing down. And so I think that kind of working to remind ourselves that we don't need to play into their hands, we don't need to make things harder on ourselves, and they're going to bring defensive pressure, they're a really good team, but we can work through that by just moving it quickly and taking the easy looks and not trying to force things or cut in a way that requires us to force things, and I think eventually we started turning it around.
Cami kind of mentioned this yesterday before the game, that they kind of have a similar identity to you all, the way they play, pretty similar styles, very physical, kind of defense-focused. As a team that has kind of really made that your entire identity over the last 5 years. Is it fun to play against a team like that it feels so similar to yourselves?
Oh, absolutely. It's an absolute blast. Just the battle and the grind, every point. We definitely love our defense, and to have that thrown back at us, I mean, it just makes us that much better. And the Spirit huddles with Sixers afterwards, just looking back at the years that we've played each other and knowing that we've applied that defensive pressure and we've brought those two styles together, and it's one reason why we both ended up in this title game. I mean, we just make each other better, and that's what we play Ultimate for.
As teams progress throughout the season, they start to change their practice schedules. This is really for Ari and all of you, actually. But when you think about how you plan for other teams and game plan for the teams that you think you'll see at this stage, how much did you change the way you normally run practices? I know that some teams run scout, they get teams to run scout offenses or defenses for them. Is that something you all did as well to prepare for this?
To some degree. I wouldn't go as far as saying we set up a scout group or anything like that, but we definitely did try to emulate certain defenses from certain teams that we thought we were likely to see. But at the same time, don't want to spend too much time worrying about that as opposed to just making yourself better. But where, for example, playing against an FM, which we don't run a ton of, but Fury does, right? Where playing against that at practice can actually hone and refine our fundamentals and make us better regardless of the fact that it's FM. That's where we'll spend the time and get use out of that.
One of the major storylines of this game, at least from our perspective, was the injuries that Toronto sustained, specifically missing Lauren Kimura and a couple other O-line players. Did that change your defensive game plan at all, or even defensive assignments with them losing such a key cog in their offense?
I don't think it really changed our game plan. I'll let Cami speak to the assignments, but it is definitely a shame that Kimura couldn't play. She's a phenomenal player, and I don't think that takes away anything from it, but no one wanted to see her not able to play, but they showed they're a great team that's more than just a couple of players, right? Especially in that first half. But yeah, I don't know if you want to speak to the assignments.
I mean, yeah, just to echo Ari, Kimura's a great player. We wanted her out there. We wanted to match up on her. We wanted to beat Sixers with her out there. But that didn't really change the game plan. Our game plan is to generate pressure across the board and know that if we do that to the best of our ability, that we don't think teams can keep up with us on offense. And so that was the game plan, and that's what we tried to do. And I don't think we came out and did that initially, but as the game went on, we kind of found our energy on defense and started applying the pressure that we wanted to and saw better results after that.
After getting the initial break in the first half and then tacking another one on, what runs through your head? How do you make sure that the team stays consistent and doesn't let the energy overtake them as you get excited to go on a roll, such as you had in the second half where you ran off that string of breaks?
Yeah, I think it's about we think about playing as trying to keep a consistent level of confidence and trust and energy and excitement and not getting too up and down, and so continuing to celebrate and support each other when we get scored on and celebrating and supporting each other when we score, and so I think it's about just being confident in ourselves and continuing to attack and doing it in a way where we know we trust each other, but without getting too out of control with it, and thinking ahead but staying in the present moment and attacking that point.
Hi. This is now 5 straight finals for this team, a couple points away from 5 straight titles. I think the program Brute Squad has earned the right to be measured more than just year by year, but as a, against the pantheon of great teams in the history of this sport. Is that a legacy that is constant in your brain? Is that something you think about as you're going through your seasons at this point? Yeah.
Personally, I think about it as a way to kind of motivate myself when it's like, don't really want to go do my workout today, but like I have this team and this program that I'm like working hard for, so I use it then. But when I'm out on the field, it's like I can't think too far in advance or too far in the past, and like really focusing on the people I'm on the field with at that time and like going and getting the disc.
Like I said before, it's just so hard to get to Sunday, so it's just absolute pride in the program and in our teammates for being able to do that, and we just absolutely don't take that for granted every year. And I wouldn't say it's something we think about a lot, but because we are just striving to be our best each season, and that's all we care about, is just leaning into that season and seeing what the result is. And we've just been so blessed that it's been what it has been, and we hope we can continue with that.
Hey, Tony here, just to go back a step for the season. I believe this is the first time that Sixers had defeated you, maybe in the course of the career, pro champs. They get you again at regionals, then you've got a pool play win, and then here in the finals. Walk us through a little bit of that saga, of that story between these two teams this season.
I think that really shows like the growth of the Sixers as a program. I think in the past, if we had an off game and we were playing them, we would still pull it out. And now they're very close, or right up in that level, and they'll punish us, right? Or punish really good teams if they have an off game, or just take it to teams. Like, they earn their spot in this finals by just being a really great team. And I think that's super exciting for us and for them to have like a close regional matchup where we can play each other 4 times in the season, plus an early season unsanctioned game. Like, we saw them a ton this season and traded blows back and forth, and I think that made each of us better.
Just to follow up real quick, did the pool play win kind of like get you back on track for facing this team, because they had gotten you twice?
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, maybe different people can speak to that differently. Personally, I think for me it was less about needing to beat them as a specific team, but more for me showing us what we're capable of, so that we have that confidence, knowing going into bracket play like what our ceiling is, and knowing as a coach what I can demand of our players in terms of what I should expect them to be able to perform, and really hold them to a high standard. Did you have?
Yeah, I mean, the pool play game was weird. So it was like a good first step, but we did not feel safe at all against this team. Like, we knew we had to bring a good, I don't even think we brought our best, but we needed to bring a much higher level than we did in pool play. We knew they would bring it to us. So the pool play game was nice, and that was definitely one of our goals, was to win the pool. And so it was great that we did that, but we knew that we were going to have to bring it to Sixers if we wanted to beat them later.
I want to bring up something that we asked the Sixers about and get your reaction to it, which is the idea that, asking them about this narrative of like there are 4 teams in the women's divisions and they fight for everything and everyone just kind of takes what's left. And they really push back against the idea that the narrative is created by people talking about it. And, Schwab beat Molly Brown, that they beat Wright this year, they beat you twice. So what is your reaction to this idea that, there's a 4-team narrative about like everyone else has to fight for what's left?
If it was true in the past, it's no longer true.
Right, fair enough. Melissa Douglas, Ari Jackson, Cammie Groom of Boston Brute Squad. Thanks so much, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Tell us about the shoes. Pretty dope.
Every time we get team shoes,